Hi, aspiring writers. Welcome to Unit 4, which is Week 4, which is another important milestone in our course. We are, at the end of this week, we will be over halfway through the course. So, for some of you, that may be very exciting. Others of you, that may be making you bite your fingernails. I'm not sure. I think it's very positive and very exciting. So, this week, we have two very different focuses. On this video, I'm only going to talk about one because I want you to be able to focus on these two things separately, if you will. So the two things are the compare and contrast and then the introduction to research. So I'll be making a separate video for that because these are really two completely separate entities. Okay, so the first one is you're going to be writing a compare and contrast essay. So I feel that a lot of students either love or hate this essay. So I want to point out a couple things for those of you who are cringing and not sure what you're going to do about a compare and contrast essay. So you're going to read through these 3 pages on your own because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do want to point out some very important things that you're going to need to know. Okay, so on the surface, a compare and contrast essay is the similarities and differences between two topics, right? Okay, so that is part of it, but I don't want you to stop at that point when you're writing your essay. That's going to be one of the first things you do is that you're going to compare and contrast two different topics and look for those similarities and differences, but there needs to be a little bit more of a purpose behind it. It's not just what is the same and what is different. It's also evaluating and analyzing. Okay, so because you don't want to get to the end of your essay and just say, you choose whatever your favorite is. Here, I don't know which one. So you want to be able to have that evaluation. Okay, so the reason you might be doing compare and contrast is you're trying to make a decision. You're trying to figure out which option is better. So I want you to kind of think of that as you're writing these essays. The next thing to consider when you're writing these essays is the topics that you're going to compare. Okay, this next page is going to take you through how to organize it and how you're going to start, preparing for your essay. Remember, last unit we talked a lot about organization. So looking at an outline of how you're going to go through this essay will be very helpful. Okay, so I like these 2 pages in our class because it goes through the entire process for you. Okay, so this essay would be comparing and contrasting community colleges and universities. So here are the different things that you would want to look at for both of those. Okay, so it would be if you're going to make a decision. Okay, so you might have a list like this when you start comparing your 2 items. So then you know what are you going to look at for each one. Okay, and this, if you think back how to organize an outline, how to use an outline to organize your essay. So this does this very nicely of how you would be doing that for these 2 topics. Okay, so there are different patterns as well, and this is one of the things I'm going to be looking at when I grade your essay, either the topic by topic or item by item. You can do either way. So make sure that you understand that part. So let me look here, the next thing. So this kind of is the, kind of wraps up what you want to be doing when you're writing your comparison and contrast essay. So I want to make sure and look at the assignment real quick with you. And head down here. So you're going to choose 2 topics. I have a list of topics down there. I highly recommend you use one of these topics. Again, this is not a research essay. I don't want you to use research. I want you to write about 2 things that you already know and are somewhat familiar with. Okay, so that way, again, you're not focused on the research part of it and trying to look up sources and is it written correctly, or you're using in-text citation. I want you to avoid those things for these first essays. Okay, so I prefer that you choose one of these things if you happen to know enough about it. So like historical events, if you just know some general things about it and can just say without any kind of research, then that would be fine, or if these are things that you are just familiar with. So keep that in mind. If you feel like you have, a really great 2 topics that you like to choose from, please let me know by Friday, and I will give you a yay or a nay on that. All right. So make sure that you are brainstorming, so you're able to find those 3 items that would be a minimum. And remember, this is only a 2-page essay. So the 3 items that you're going to compare, and it gives you the example of what they compared with the sample topic. And then what is your pattern? Okay, there are 4 different points that are listed in the lecture notes, which is the topic, thesis, attention grabber, and signposting. Okay, so make sure that you're following that. Of course, one of the things we're focusing in on as you're learning to write at the academic level is being organized and using that outline. I don't need to see your outline, but it is for you to help make sure that you have everything in there. You will, number 7, you're going to use your own title. You want to create a title, and that's going to be centered in your paper. And then this is an important step, and this is one of the reasons that procrastination hurts college students. You want to make sure that you have had time to read over the essay, have someone read it for you, read it out loud. You can also use BrainFuse. If you go over here to the help button, it'll take you to the steps to using BrainFuse and then give you feedback. You need to do that earlier in the week because it does take a little bit of time. So please don't forget that part. And then also on our announcement for the week, I have the sample of what it looks like for MLA formatting. Most of you are getting that, and that's wonderful, but there's still a few little tweaks and things that some people need to make. So be sure to read the feedback on previous essays. All right, so again, here are the different topics to choose from. And here, if you're not scrolling all the way down, you may end up missing this rubric. And these are this is the exact same rubric that I will be using to grade your paper. Another point I want to make too is that everyone's paper gets sent through Turnitin. So if you are getting a report back from Turnitin that has more than 20% similarity, you're going to need to go back to the drawing board. Okay, because more than 20% means that you're not using your words, you're using somebody else's words. Even if everything was perfectly cited and you had a beautiful MLA parenthetical citation and you had a works cited page, if there's more than 20%, that means that you're using too much of somebody else's words. And if you're doing that and not citing it, then that's called plagiarism. So we don't want you to do that. If you're not sure about plagiarism, go back to the very beginning of the course and look at the different references. I think I'm trying to think where the plagiarism was. Yep. So here's a good tool to use. Okay. Sources are to be helpful to what the claim is that you're going to be making. You don't want to overuse them, and you certainly don't want to use them without giving proper citation. All right, so one last thing, we'll look at this week's announcements. It's not up yet because I'm going to add this video. So be sure that you are reading the lecture notes. If you want to use a different topic, please let me know by Friday. Otherwise, just plan on using one of the topics that I have listed there. I highly recommend that because students are typically more successful with those topics. Go back if you're not sure about thesis. That's in Unit 3. There are the new strategies that we're talking about this week. You want to include some analysis and evaluation of the topic. Make sure you go over the rubric. Here again is the mention about BrainFuse. Please send an email anytime that you have questions. If you're sending me an email like at 11 o'clock on the due date, I may not be able to answer. So the sooner that you can get working on this assignment in the week is much better. And then we can be able to go back and forth and answer questions. Okay, the second assignment is going to be Introduction to Research, and that is a separate whole video and a whole announcement, so be sure that you look for that. One important note this week is there is no discussion board because you have 2 pretty lengthy assignments that you're going to be working on. As with any week, I'm going to be posting some announcements. Sometimes it comes from student questions. Sometimes it's just I have it set up for them to pop up later in the week. So here's all the information about MLA formatting, and then of course our weekly schedule. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I look forward to seeing you in class this week.